And welcome back. Broken infrastructure, water restrictions and communities going for days on end without running water. That's a lived reality in some parts of the country. With summer looming, the situation could be worse. In Gauteng, residents around areas of Westbury and Coronationville and other neighbouring communities took to the streets protesting against the city's failure to provide them with water for months. They gave the city of Johannesburg 7 days to ensure that water supply is restored in some areas. And today, we have Johannesburg City Mayor Dada Morero to provide us with answers. We also have the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Water and Sanitation, Leon Basson, Jonathan Erasmus, who is with WaterCAN, as well as Mellisa Davids, a resident of Westbury. We're going to start the conversation here. Mayor, good afternoon. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Now, there's been intermittent water supply in various parts of Johannesburg for quite a while now, and many residents up in arms have taken to the streets about this. Some promises have been made by the city, and of course the city had announced some interventions. Take us through some of those interventions announced by yourself as well as Joburg Water to turn the situation around. Mayor, can you hear me?
I missed your question.
Can you talk to us through some of those interventions announced by the city of Johannesburg in solving the water crisis in the city?
Oh, for the opportunity to respond and to be part of this interview. As you know that, let's first start with Westbury, which has been one of the areas that we had to put certain interventions in an attempt to ensure that water is at least provided in the area. And those interventions meant that we need to try and improve the system to ensure that we can give support and supply to the majority of areas, which since we went there, we had seen an increase and an improvement in those that needed to be provided with water. We still realized that the second aspect that we thought we'd do was to construct a cross connection from the Crosby Reservoir to try and build a pipe that will then supply the areas of Westbury, especially Coronation. So that's part of the interventions that we are doing in that area to ensure that at least there could be water. It has been confirmed that the water pressure in that line should be sufficient to help us to even get water to the high-lying areas. We've also made interventions in terms of the flats, where we've realized that part of the problem is the pipes, which requires to be renewed so that water can be pumped to the upper level of the flats. So we are intervening as Joburg Water in the city to ensure that we are able to assist communities. And that's the basis of that area. We have also made interventions in Midrand, Ebony and Ivory Park to ensure that water supply. We had a good meeting with the community there, and the interventions that we've put in place are being realized, and we're beginning to see the fruits of what we're doing. The biggest area that we still have to battle with is Kensington, Ward 118, Ward 66 and Ward 59 in the main, where we are now doing some interventions, which requires a much bigger operation, which operation will take a period of a month or more in an intention to rezone the current reservoir so that we can supply them from the Uvel reservoir. So that's the work that Joburg Water will now be undertaking to ensure. But we must also be alive to the fact that we are also battling with demand management in Joburg, as our usage of water has gone beyond. And of course, the leaking of pipes is not helping the situation, and our operation on dealing with leaks is continuing, and replacement of pipes. We hope that in the near future we'll be able to resolve this matter once and for all.
Yeah. What is being done in the interim for the residents of Midrand and Kensington, where water has not yet been completely restored?
We've agreed with the residents of Kensington that we'll continue to provide through water tankers. We'll also try to close the system at some point, open the system at a certain point, so that they can get water at least between 3 o'clock in the morning right up to 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. That's the similar interventions we have agreed to in Ayaboni Park, where residents said you can close, but ensure that when you close the system, at least the schools are not affected. So that's the interventions that we are trying to do. And we've also set up committees to work with those communities, both in Park and in Kensington, so that we can work together and ensure that water do reach the households.
How much has the city of Johannesburg spent year to date on water tankers?
Well, it's a contract that we normally award, and it's as and when it's required. I may not have the current figures now because 20 of those water tankers that we've deployed from last week belong to the city of Johannesburg. They've been procured by the city, and the rest of the remainder is as and when we require the services. So I will not be able to give you actual figures to say from when we started last week, 2 weeks ago, what have we spent on it. All I know is that at least 20 of those belong to the city, and quite a few are part of the contract of water tankers that we are using. And of course, this was a decision that the city took, that we want to phase out outsourcing of water tankers, because it's a service that is only required when there's water interruptions due to maintenance or to leaking pipes or to pipes burst. It's not something that is permanent in the system on water supply.
Yeah. May I want to ask you about some of the overall problems pertaining to the water infrastructure and supply problems in the city of Johannesburg. But before I do, Mellisa Davids, you're a resident in Westbury. The mayor says to us there, one of the interventions that has been done is that there's a cross connection from one reservoir to another that would secure water supply for Westbury and Coronationville. Water pressure should be sufficient for that to run. As a resident, are you satisfied with that problem and with that solution? And have you seen a change in water supply in Westbury today?
Good afternoon to you and the viewers. I am actually very, very upset with the meeting that we had to where we are now. Our community is not seeing that 20 water tankers, and that is something that I've enlightened with the mayor. I have said to him, it was told to us that we will have 20 water tankers. However, I have put together a committee, a water committee in Coronationville, and we had to then serve people in Westdean, which is part of Ward 86. They have not seen any water tankers. So since 2017, we have been sitting with this problem, and it is very mysterious that only this time of the year there's a crack in the reservoir. My question to the mayor was, when he met us, who is actually getting money from this water tankers being sent to us? Because let me tell you something, I actually have a picture that I was actually looking for. I wanted to put it as my background so that the mayor can see the filthy water that Joburg Water is actually giving to our communities. We are not getting clean water. I'm not sure how do they expect us to bath and to consume such water. We are not animals, we are humans.
The filthy water you're talking about, is it coming from the taps or the water tankers?
It's coming from the tankers. And I have sent it through to Joburg Water to show them that this is indeed what our community is now being served with. And let me just also highlight to you, there is no water tankers that was spotted yesterday. We did not receive any water tankers. We have told the mayor that we have put a committee together within our community to ensure that everybody gets served. But no, instead of them working alongside us, they rather just pass us by. The tankers refuse to communicate to us. They refuse to serve the people, and they come when having a leak. So they basically come to us with insufficient water supply.
Beyond the water tankers, Mellisa, the mayor then said what they did do was have a cross connection take place to make sure that there's supply of water through the taps in Coronationville and Westbury, and that water pressure should be sufficient for that to take place. Have you seen any change with regards to that?
Well, to be honest with you, there's 2 or 3 streets that gets water supply within morning hours. So that is between 1 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock. After that, the waters are the taps are dry. My question to the mayor was as well, like he rightfully said, they are going to switch Slovo off with the immediate effect because it's causing a lot of uprising within our communities. To date, Slovo still has full water pressure, full water supply. So I'm not sure if this is strategic from the government side to not have those people at Slovo actually also protesting, and therefore they are supplying them with sufficient water.
Yeah. Mayor, what's your response to that?
Let me just clarify, Mellisa, because we need to be consistent and try as much as possible to take politics out of this issue. We have acknowledged that the pipe that supplies Solovoville, which is an informal settlement in the area, it's not the same pipe that supplies the area of Coronation, where dwellings exist. So what it then means is that, of course, Slovo will continuously have the water because they're not connected on the same line. The line that Slovo is on, it's a different line. There's no justification to then switch off Slovo, but the justification we have now is to ensure that Coronationville also get access to the water by ensuring that the intervention we're going to do, one, the cross connection, which the work is starting on Monday, would then help us to ease the pressure in the area so that there is supply of water in the entire nation, so that you reduce as much as possible the interruptions that are in the area. Now, if Mellisa says the water that's been provided, it's not clean, it's a matter that I need to then attend to, so that we can find out why is the water not clean, because the water that is being transported to the area is being taken out of the reservoir and transported to the area. So
but it seems, Mayor, that this is not the first time residents raised this. Mellisa says she's raised this before, and that the water from the 2010
on Thursday, and if the matter would have been raised, we would then have to attend to it. It can't be that we just raise issues as and when we feel to raise it. They were raised in the meeting, and those that were raised in the meeting we are attending to. I'm still surprised Mellisa says they did not receive the water tankers in the area. We have explained to the meeting that as we see improvements in certain areas, we were also forced by the situation in Weinstein, which meant certain tankers had to be diverted to Weinstein area so that we can supply, because other areas in what 82 and 69 were beginning to see an improvement. So you needed to balance how you do the water tankering and ensure that everybody at least does get access. The meeting did acknowledge that yes, indeed, a number of residents that spoke did acknowledge that at least they realized an improvement since we went there, and they're continuing to see, but the challenges remains there, and hence this intervention that will be done in the new cross connection, which will then help us to improve the situation in the area. And that's what we are doing in the area of Coronation and Westbury.
Yeah. Before I bring in the Water and Sanitation Portfolio Committee Chairperson, may I want to ask you this. The water supply problem in the city of Johannesburg is of such a nature that 1 in every 4 liters of water that is pumped is just lost to leakages. 27% is that figure of water lost to leakages in the city of Johannesburg. We have about 42 reservoirs in the city of Johannesburg. Half of them are leaking. That means not functioning optimally. What is the overall plan in solving that? Because that seems to be the underlying causes of the water supply issues.
Let me just indicate we have actually 45 reservoirs that are damaged and are leaking and require refurbishment. In this budget, we have set aside at least 24 reservoirs that the work is starting to refurbish them. In Soweto, I know there's 3 of them that we are refurbishing, and the work will be concluded in Soweto in June, July 2026. But what it means, whilst you continue with the work to refurbish, it means you will then bypass the system to ensure that water is still provided to communities. And that's the work that we've committed to do as the city in refurbishing the 24. We hope in the next financial year, in our next new budget, 2026-2027, we'll add the remainder of about 21 reservoirs that also requires to be refurbished. But we are also doing new infrastructure. As we are running refurbishment, parallel, we are also doing new infrastructure. In Brixton alone, we're doing a new one which will give us about 24 kiloliters of water, megaliters of water, and a tower of about 9. So it's a total of just around 20. It's 9 plus 24. So we'll be giving at least storage sufficient to cover that area right up to Emmarange here, and we hope we will not have challenges into the future. 2, we are also putting money to refurbish the water pumps in the area so that the 3 pumps are fixed, corrected, so that we can have the necessary pumping pressure in the area. So that's what we are doing on the area of Westbury Coronation, or rather Region B in its entirety, so that we don't have challenges. The same thing in Region D, we're doing 3 so that we can reduce. In Region F, we're doing the station in Kensington to ensure that when we complete in 2026, the water issues have been resolved in that area. But we are also acknowledging the fact that our infrastructure in Johannesburg is under dire strain, with expansions that are happening and are not properly being controlled. And it's something that we said we need to enforce and ensure that we control the mushrooming of informal settlements in our city. So that's where we are, and we are doing the correct interventions to ensure that there's water supply in Johannesburg.
Leon Basson, you the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Water and Sanitation in Parliament, and you will be engaging the Minister in the City of Johannesburg in coming days. But are you satisfied as a chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on the immediate interventions that have been taken by the City of Johannesburg this past week?
No, we're not satisfied. We indicated yesterday that the Portfolio Committee is not satisfied with the presentation that Joburg Water and the Executive Mayor has done to us. There is a lot of concerns that we have raised. They've got an excellent plan, but they don't have funding for that plan. Secondly, they don't pay contractors. Contractors are still down. We asked the Executive Mayor when those contractors would be paid, and the answer we received from him in that meeting was, well, they're first going to pay salaries, and then pension funds and medical aids, and then Rand Water, and if there's money left, we will pay contractors. The contractors have been appointed by Joburg Water to assist in fixing the problem in Joburg. And we are setting up contractors for failure if we don't pay them. Furthermore, we were very much concerned about 4 billion that was swept out of Joburg Water. We will now have a discussion with National Treasury and the Auditor General on the way that has been done. We feel that is unlawfully done. And the Mayor could not indicate to us, after numerous requests, to give us a timeline when water income will be ring-fenced. And he gave us a long story. They're working on it next year, whenever. We've got a crisis at the moment in Johannesburg. We want to assist the municipality or the metro. We don't want to work against them. That's why we've set up this meeting. We even asked, what do you expect from us? How can we assist you? And the answer was, please just communicate that there's a problem. So we are, as I said, we're not satisfied. We gave the executive mayor and Joburg Water 14 days to answer us how they're going to pay the contractors, how much money is outstanding. We want to see their water plans, and we want to know how it's going to be funded, the expansion and the maintenance in Joburg. We accept that it is a problem that is coming for a long time. That does not give us any reason to say you knew this is a problem for the last 10 years, and you are now taking away money that is earmarked to fix your problem, to pay salaries and other entities or whatever they use with that money. We have now requested them to give us that within 14 days. So in conclusion on this matter, we will get Johannesburg Water back to Parliament after consultation with National Treasury and the Auditor General.
Yeah. Mayor, what's your response to the 3 points that the plan seemingly heavily unfunded and underfunded, albeit the chairperson says it's a good plan, one that they seemingly believe can solve the problem. It's just unfunded. You're not paying contractors and you're not refencing water expenditure. What's your response to those 3 points?
Thanks for the opportunity to respond once more. The schedule of payments, that's what was explained to the chairperson and the committee, that on a month-to-month basis, the city goes through a payment schedule. Like any other business, you have a schedule and you say between this date and this date, you are dealing with employees, you are dealing with everything that relates to employees. And then you then say on the 3rd week, you are dealing with your contractors and everybody that has to be paid. That has been contracted as a third party to the city. That's a payment schedule that was explained to the committee. It can't be that an impression is then created that the city only chooses to pay employees. No, we're demonstrating a schedule of payment. 2, it is also important to understand at the inception of local government, what was their funding model when these entities were created? It became clear that metros will then be funded from surpluses of water and electricity and the rates account. Now that has been the funding model of municipalities, and everything that is charged to the customers, and when the bills are paid by customers, they pay into a single account, which single account, therefore, has to pay for the entire commitments of the city, which the city budgeted for. And that we explained to the committee. Also further explained to the committee that since last year, we are undertaking a process with National Treasury, process called the Trading Entities Reforms, which is now saying certain percentages of the money that or revenue that comes from water and electricity and the waste business should be ring-fenced, and that money be reinvested into those entities. Now, that's what the trading entities are saying. We are under that process. We hope in the next 6 to 8 months, that process will be concluded. By the time the city passes a new budget in May next year, that process would have been concluded between the city and National Treasury, and the necessary regulations will then be put in place to allow for us to do exactly what the chairperson of the committee, Honorable Basson, is saying. So the impression can be as if the money was taken away somewhere else. Part of the money is still in Joburg Water, where we have at least budgeted 1.2 to 1.3 billion. That has been invested into Joburg Water to focus on infrastructure and to focus on the water business. So it's not as if there's no money that was sent to Joburg Water. That is why in the area of coordination of Region B itself, we've put aside 800 million with an intention to deal with the historical infrastructure challenges that we've had. Because that area has been battling with water, not just now. It's been a historical issue. And that is why we took a bold decision. And we said, we are putting 800 million, address these issues once and for all, so that by the time we reach the new budget or new financial year, the area of Region B cannot have any more water issues as a result of infrastructure issues. It should be that they don't have water maybe as a result of water demand management, not on the basis of infrastructure. And that's what we are doing in that area. And I think members of the committee did caution us on a number of issues and have requested certain reports, and others did acknowledge that, yes, the challenges are there. They've also acknowledged the same way the chairperson of the committee is acknowledging that the plan that Joburg Water has, it's a good plan, and that plan will continue to fund. And that is why we've also went out into the market to raise money so that we can address some of these challenges and address them as urgently as we can. We've raised 500 million currently, which 500 million will also be invested in the refurbishment of our water reservoirs. So work is being done. Perhaps it's just unfortunate that the pace at which we're moving at, it's a pace that, of course, requires affordability, also requires us to be able to locate and allocate funds to the water business.
Yeah. Perhaps to ask this, Mayor, on the contractors, you mentioned, you described to us your payment schedule, that it's a 30-day turnaround time. How many of your contractors right now, or how many contractors to the city of Johannesburg, very specifically to Joburg Water, have not been paid in the 30-day cycles? How many of them have invoices overdue beyond 30 days?
No, we have not denied that we do have other contractors who are sitting at 60 days in terms of their payments, 90 days, I think that's the maximum. We have a team that meets every Sunday looking at age analysis of what we owe contractors and make certain adjustments to ensure that contractors are being paid. So it's an ongoing work that the team
but how many
does.
contractors are we talking about, Minister, Mayor?
Unfortunately, I would not have that information at hand currently. I won't have that information at hand.
Yeah. I want to bring you into the conversation, Jonathan. WaterCAN has done independent research and spoken to experts about what can be done to turn the situation around in the city of Johannesburg. Like I said earlier on, 27% of the water supplied of water in the city of Johannesburg is lost to leakages, right? In fact, the city of Johannesburg's non-revenue water sitting at the upper level of about 40%, some estimated to be a little bit higher than that. And of the 45 reservoirs that are leaking in the city of Johannesburg, there's only enough money to fix about 21 of them in this financial year, and hopefully more money will be allocated in the next financial year to fix the remainder of those. And the city of Johannesburg, of course, has been managing its water supply issue through a stop-start process, which many engineers are arguing might damage the infrastructure that is already ailing and frail. What is the view of WaterCAN on what should be done more immediately in turning that around? Of course, money is needed for this. You've heard the financial strains that exist, but what is the view of WaterCAN around that?
Yeah, thank you very much. So really, WaterCAN, along with our partners at the Joburg Crisis Alliance and the Joburg Water Forum, we've really spoken at depth about what can be done. And there's a few fundamental points that the city must obviously take, and government at large. Accountability is really high on that list. There needs to be much more accountability. You know, we always hear about consequence management. I think it's just more syllables than actual action. We see, because we seem to hear it, but there never seems to be anything that follows. We also definitely need sufficient budget. MP Basson spoke about the sweeping account. This is a really serious issue that needs to be dealt with haste. We also need our politicians to be hands-off. In a way, there's far too much interference taking place in the running of the administration. And this is what's leading to a lot of these issues. There's people being appointed that shouldn't be appointed. There's money being diverted to projects that really have no basis to have it at all. And then, of course, immediate relief is high on this. And I think Mellisa spoke to this. You know, there needs to be a much more coherent plan to making sure we're getting water tankers and tanks to these affected communities. I cannot understand how in this day and age we don't use GPS tracking on water tankers and make that known to communities so we know when they are arriving and where they are. we often hear communities say to us that we were told the water tankers arrived, but they never did. And this is an ongoing issue. We need to embrace the kind of world that we live in and of modern technology and really bring it down to basic level. We need higher responsiveness. So one of the issues we often find people saying to us is, I lodge a complaint, I send an email, I make contact, and no one ever responds to me. This is really uncalled for. I know this is a big city. I know there's a lot of operations that need to be dealt with, but clearly you need to be responsive to the needs of the people. These are the constituencies, these are the ratepayers, these are the people that make this city tick. And then lastly, and the really big one here, is greater transparency. So if anyone has ever tried to interact with Johannesburg's website, you would get the sense that transparency is really not high up on its list. At the very basic level, we need to have much more information there. So for instance, these turnaround plans and these master plans that we've been hearing about, they've got to be made available. At the very least, they've got to be given to the Presidential Working Committee, which they then go towards the forums and the various institutions that sit in there where civil society can hold government account. And I just want to kind of just talk a few points, because the issues people are facing are real. Last night we were in Kensington. We heard people say they were contemplating suicide because of the lack of water. We heard people say they're battling with disease related to hygiene. They were unable to flush toilets. There was a loss of dignity for the elderly. Parents can't get their children ready for school. One person stood up and said, I just want to have a shower in the morning. Can you at least put the water on so we can do that very simple thing? And this issue goes right across. If anyone's interested in getting the really raw information of Coronationville, do yourself a favor, go into TikTok, look at the videos that have been posted there. You will see what is actually happening there. You'll get through all the smoke and mirrors and all the spin that we are sent by the city, and just take a look at what is happening. It is raw, it is hurtful, it's an indignity to those people that live there, and we need immediate action. We cannot be on this roller coaster. And lastly, this issue is not new. We're talking about it as if it's just happened. It's just dawned upon us. In 2017, the same city, different government, granted, put out a statement about water leaks, non-revenue water, old pipes, bursting, lack of access to water. This has continued for almost a decade now, if not longer. And I think people are sick and tired of the same lies that has been dealt with this time.
Yeah.
And hopefully it is going to be dealt with this time. But I do think at the highest level, the consequences is needed. The mayor must be able to put down a firm deadline. I will resign, otherwise I will deliver. And it's got to be that simple. It cannot be that it's someone else's fault, there's money in the pot that's going somewhere else. We really need someone to put their head on the block on this.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your insights there, Jonathan Erasmus. Really do appreciate it. Jonathan Erasmus from WaterCAN. Mellisa Brown, a resident of Westbury. Leon Basson, the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Water and Sanitation in Parliament, and the Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Dada Morero. Thank you so much for your time and having this very important discussion with us. Really do appreciate it.